What's up everyone, it's the Law School Lumberjack here again with another video. Today we're going to be doing an installment of our Property Law 101 series, and today we're going to be looking at resulting trusts. So this video is going to be a relatively short one. The purpose of this video is to give a brief primer on the resulting trust and the presumptions that occur as a result of gifts which may have a resulting trust attached to them. It is by no means intended to be a comprehensive explanation of the subject matter. So as I'm sure you're aware, property includes both a legal and beneficial interest. So while a party may show up on title as the owner of a property or may be shown in a registry as the owner of that property, which suggests they have legal title, they may not have what's called beneficial ownership of the property. So the interest in the property may actually be owned by someone else. Now, this is arguably what happens in a resulting trust situation. An individual who creates the trust or gives the gift, we'll call them the settlor, gifts legal interest to another party, and the beneficial interest reverts back to the settlor or their estate if they have passed away. And that's what a resulting trust essentially operates as. So the most common transaction you will see that leads to a resulting trust in law school is a gratuitous transfer. So a gratuitous transfer is essentially a situation where an individual, usually a family member, gifts property to their spouse or children. And the question becomes, was that a true gift in that the person who received the gift was intended to have both legal and beneficial interest? Or was the gift given just for the matter of convenience for the person to take title to that property, but the beneficial interest really was intended to remain with the person who gave the gift or their estate should that person have passed away? So what has essentially occurred throughout the case law is that we have a presumption of advancement and a presumption of resulting trust in certain circumstances. So if an individual gifts property to their spouse or their minor child, it's presumed that that individual intended for both the legal and beneficial interest to pass to the spouse or child through that gift. That's called the presumption of advancement. That would lead to no resulting trust. Now, there is also a presumption of resulting trust, which occurs when an individual, generally one who is older or potentially incapable, gifts property to their adult children. Now, if it's gifted to an adult child, it's presumed that that gift was given just for convenience and legal title was put in the adult child's name, but that beneficial interest was not meant to vest in the adult child, so that there would be a presumption of resulting trust such that the property would eventually revert back to the person who gave that gift. Now, it's important to remember that these are just presumptions. So they can be rebutted with proper evidence. So the onus of proof will be on the person who's trying to disprove this presumption. So for example, when it comes to a case where there's a presumption of resulting trust, it'll usually be the individual who received the gift who is trying to prove that the property was intended to be gifted to them both legally and beneficially. And that person will have to provide evidence to disprove that presumption on a balance of probabilities. So if an adult child has evidence that their mother or father intended to gift them the legal and beneficial interest in property, that presumption of resulting trust can be rebutted. Additionally, if there's evidence that spouse A did not intend for the beneficial interest to be provided to spouse B, even though there's a presumption of advancement, that can be rebutted and a resulting trust may actually exist. So now I'm going to go briefly into the case of Pecore and Pecore. I'm not intending to go into great detail because we already talked about the presumption of resulting trust, but the purpose of this is just to give an example where the Supreme Court of Canada has essentially applied the presumption of resulting trust and an attempt to disprove that presumption. So in Pecore and Pecore, we have an individual, Mr. Pecore, who transfers one of his bank accounts jointly to his daughter. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, when it comes to joint ownership of property, if an individual dies and both parties own beneficial interest in that joint property, there's a right of survivorship such that if the beneficial interest was owned by the daughter in this case, she would get the account free and clear and wouldn't have to pay any money to the estate when her father died. So in this circumstance, Mr. Pecore, the father, passes away, and the question becomes, is the estate entitled to the savings account, or does the daughter own that joint account free and clear due to the right of survivorship? Again, really this case turns on the question of whether or not the beneficial interest in that joint account reverts back to the deceased Mr. Pecore and his estate, such that the estate would own the bank account. Now, because the daughter is an adult child of Mr. Pecore, there is a presumption of resulting trust. As a result, the daughter would have to prove on a balance of probabilities that Mr. Pecore intended for the daughter to receive the joint interest in the bank account free and clear so that she could rebut the presumption of resulting trust. Given the facts in this case, it was clear that the father, Mr. Pecore, gifted that interest to the daughter in order to basically avoid probate taxes, and for convenience sake, his intention was not to allow the daughter to have the account free and clear. So unfortunately in this case, the daughter was not able to disprove or to rebut the presumption of resulting trust. As a result, the estate had the beneficial interest in the bank account, and therefore the daughter did not own the bank account, and therefore the account was distributed as set out in Mr. Pecore's will. So that's a brief run through of the presumption of advancement and the presumption of resulting trust, as well as a brief case brief on the Pecore and Pecore case. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Take care. See you next time.